Hello, I'm Richard Herring.
I'm Uplook Rowan.
And this is Sight on Screen. Shit, we're back.
Yeah, we're back. We had a little hiatus.
Yeah, I had surgery.
Yeah.
So,
feeling better now.
Feeling much better. Feeling ready to talk about a movie. And you, finally,
yes,
saw it.
I finally saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I've been trying to get you to watch this for so goddamn long.
I know.
Now we just need to make you watch Jackie Brown and we're there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
and funny enough, you weren't the one that convinced me to watch it. It was Mindhunter.
Yeah, Mindhunter.
Yeah, so I just recently finished watching both seasons of Mindhunter.
Mm-hmm.
Because David Fincher's new movie is coming out soon, also on Netflix. I think it's called Monk or something like that.
News to me, man.
Something like that. Which is supposed to be pretty awesome.
Okay.
I like David Fincher style.
I like Fincher. All right.
Yeah. So yes, I saw Mindhunter, and season 2, I think it's episode 5. Charles Manson makes an appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking steals the scene.
Yeah.
You have to watch that.
Okay.
Even out of context, it's amazing.
All right.
So I encourage everyone to watch that. That will definitely get you on board the show, I think.
Yeah.
For sure. So yeah, I watched that. I was so impressed by the performance that I told myself, you know what, I have to watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Once Upon a Time in America is a whole
different. It's a
much longer movie.
Yeah, but it's a great one.
It's amazing. 5 minutes and 40 minutes, though. 5 hours and 40 minutes.
5 hours and 40 minutes. Freaking like Gone with the Wind.
It's more longer than Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, even Gone with the Wind's 4 hours and something. Wow. Yeah, so what was I saying? So yeah, saw Mindhunter, encouraged me to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because the same actor that does Charles Manson in Mindhunter does it in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Which is an odd thing. Where has this happened before? This is kind of weird, isn't it?
So he was hired to do the role for Mindhunter much sooner. He was hired actually years ago, before they actually did the performance.
Yeah.
And during that whole process, I guess Quentin Tarantino also said, like, all right, you know what, we want him as well.
Yeah, but I mean,
and it was within like a couple of weeks of each other that he did both performances.
I mean, think about it. When has this happened before? Where one actor has portrayed the same character in 2 entirely separate projects,
separate mediums, even.
Yeah, like one's a TV show, one is a movie. Different director, different product, different studio. Nothing in common.
Yeah, absolutely nothing in common.
When does that happen?
And it's the same makeup artist too. Yeah, the same guy who did the makeup for him in Mindhunter did the makeup for him in Tarantino's movie.
That is bizarre.
It is. It is really bizarre, and it's so weird looking at the actor because he looks nothing like himself. Like I would never have pegged him for Charles Manson.
Let's be honest. If you found a man who looked like actually Charles Manson, you wouldn't hire that man. You'd run. Charles Manson at that point was a freaky looking dude.
Yeah, oof. And he definitely does definitely a better job done with the makeup in Mindhunter. Like, that's almost 1-to-1.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the point is that, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood really, from what I've understood, they were trying to find such a fine line between truth and fiction.
Yeah.
Because, Tarantino's done this before. This is kind of like, I would almost call it the third of his historical revenge movies, almost. Like, where he goes in and kind of rewrites history more in line with what should have happened.
Yeah, I guess Inglourious Basterds.
Inglourious Basterds and Django.
Django Unchained, yes.
Because Inglourious Basterds, it's kind of like, they, spoiler alert, you probably know this already.
It's a 2006 movie,
yeah,
so.
They kill Hitler.
Yeah.
The bastards kill Hitler, which is kind of like a huge course correction.
Mm-hmm.
In Django, you suddenly kind of find this, the hero for the slaves. Like, they create an avenging angel in this character, which is like something that didn't really exist, but God, don't we all wish it did.
Yeah.
And
we have some similar, heroic figures from the time.
There absolutely are heroic figures.
Yeah,
but this is
managed to get a lot of people out of the plantations and stuff like that.
No doubt. I'm not saying there was no heroism, but I don't think any of them were what you would call a pulp
Yeah.
more
a
of a
grindhouse version of
yeah.
that.
I mean, this guy is an avenging angel in the old school '70s grunge movie. This is. It's pretty much what would happen if you took The Vigilante with Charles Bronson, but you made it in slave era.
Yeah, sure.
It's kind of like, and that's what Tarantino's kind of been doing lately.
That's a bit of an absurd reference, but go ahead.
Oh, come on.
It threw me off guard, that's all I'm saying.
Hey, you own these slaves. Kapow.
Yes.
I do a terrible Charles Bronson. But,
that was wonderful.
But we do have this kind of weird situation where when you are watching a Tarantino project, history doesn't necessarily need to stay on course.
No.
Which is an odd thing for a director to have as a staple, but it has kind of become a bit of his shtick.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually entertainment.
Yeah,
for
and I think that's why they probably didn't do the makeup in the same way, because they probably could have. I don't see why that wouldn't have been possible. But I think also that, like you mentioned before we went on air, Charles Manson's lack of presence in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, he only had, that was one of the most disappointing things, because, I'd just come off of Mindhunter, and he'd, like I told you, it was short, but it was oh so sweet.
Yeah.
And here it was really, really short.
Yeah,
beyond.
There is more footage of him. There's, deleted scenes with him in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because he had, 2 lines, I think?
Yeah,
or just said,
almost nothing.
Yeah, he just asked whether or not someone lives there anymore, and then they don't, and so he just walks
and then,
away.
But there is that wonderful, well, fuck you too, Jack! Which is kind of great.
Yeah.
But this, going a little bit away from Charles Manson, because the movie certainly doesn't care about him.
That's true. Yeah.
I think that's kind of the thing I admired about the movie, is kind of like, yeah, when we all heard about this, Quentin Tarantino, a Charles Manson movie, I gotta tell you, I clenched up.
You would think that they would go all out with the race war, because, like you said, history is not really that important, so he might have gone with that kind of alternate history.
Yeah, he could have gone ultra-violent on this.
Yeah, where they actually did incite a race war, and, things really did happen.
Yeah, I heard about this happening, and I'm like, this is not good. This is not okay. But they took a really different approach.
Yeah, and it was one of the things that I was also telling you right before we got on air. Which is, this is probably the most tame of Tarantino movies I've seen so far.
If you're going to look at total, yes. In terms of shock factor, I don't know.
Besides that the last 5 minutes of the movie.
The last 5 minutes are so strong, though.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll not talk about it right now, but this movie kind of lulls you into a fake sense of security and then really takes it for a ride.
Because it's mainly focusing on Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Rick Dalton.
Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth, which is
Brad Pitt's character.
Brad Pitt's character.
And Brad Pitt's playing the stunt double of...
so let's go back to the start, which is that we have Rick Dalton, Leonardo DiCaprio, who, when we meet him in the film, is a washed-up actor. He was a TV actor. He had like a Bonanza style.
Yeah, he was a leading role
cowboy show, and I think if I remember rightly, it's like now we're meeting him 8 years after he quit that show to try and have a film career.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that he's on a show called Bounty Law, where apparently the shtick is he kills everyone.
Yep, he kills everyone.
I want to watch this show. Come on.
I know, right?
It's so dope.
Oof.
But and we're meeting him, and he's kind of a washed-up actor. Cliff Booth is his stunt double / driver / manservant, almost. It's kind of a weird relationship they got.
Yeah, he's very much like the handyman, I guess. But he does it for free. He drives him around.
I don't think he does it for free. I think he's paid. Because it seems
that's true. They do mention that in the end. You're absolutely right.
He doesn't seem like he gets a lot of stunt work anymore, so this is his job now.
Yeah. And he does say that he enjoys doing it, which I don't know, although,
let's
seems like a really laid-back guy.
Let's talk about the performances. Holy shit. I love DiCaprio in this. This might be the best Brad Pitt's been in years. He is so interesting in this movie.
Yes. And it's very somewhat similar, but also entirely different from the character he plays in Ad Astra, which I don't know if you saw.
I've seen it. I saw it.
Yeah, where he plays that. I think in Ad Astra he plays his role perfectly because he's set up to be the kind of person who's always keeping his heart rate low. Yeah, he's like super steady. Yeah. He has these really muted discussions in his mind, which are super fascinating. And I think like he plays it so stoic that you might think that this is a very poor performance, but in actuality he plays the character really well.
I think Ad Astra had a really good performance and didn't know what to do with it a little bit.
Yeah, sure. The story is a bit
yeah.
we won't talk about it.
No, we'll not go there too much.
But here he's also playing this sort of reserved character. Yeah. In certain ways, but he's just so much more
chill.
Yeah, he's so laid back and emotive.
Yeah,
at the very least.
Emotive, but I mean, you never know overtly, where you have this guy.
Yeah,
that's because there's a lot of times the way he's behaving doesn't match or sync with what's either happening or what's being said.
Yeah,
there's kind of a weird disconnect with him, and you're always kind of watching this character because even when he's on his own, he has this kind of like interesting disconnect.
Yeah, when he's fixing the little satellite pole.
Or chilling in his little trailer behind a drive-in cinema.
Yeah, that's so
with
cool.
The dog.
Yeah.
I mean, he has so many... Brad Pitt has never looked as in tune with a character, I don't think. I mean, this is the best use of his charisma as an actor to match a character.
Sure.
Because he isn't playing himself. It's not Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where he's pretty much just Brad Pitt being Brad Pitt.
Well, yeah, they had just gotten married.
Yeah, I mean...
and Angelina Jolie had just gotten married, and then they made this movie together.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith is Brad Pitt just being Brad Pitt. Ocean's 11 is Brad Pitt just being cool. Here is the same character, but you don't know where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Whereas DiCaprio is... full force in this goddamn movie.
Oh my god, yeah, he's falling apart.
Oh my god, it's so great.
He does an amazing job, and especially the when they're actually making the movie about halfway through.
The TV show, you mean?
No, yeah, when he gets the episode of the TV show.
Episode of Lancer, which is a real show.
Yeah. Yeah, and he gets to play the villain, and he does this amazing scene with the little girl.
Oh yeah,
that was really good acting. I don't think I've seen DiCaprio act that well in an actual movie, but here he's doing it in like a fake.
No, but I mean he's got two of them because he did one, which is him in the trailer before he does this scene.
That's true. That's an amazing scene.
Oh my god, the freak out he's having is unbelievable.
My absolute favorite scene in the whole movie is him. In that trailer, literally berating himself for drinking, and moments later starts drinking and then gets angry at himself for drinking again.
Yeah, but I mean...
that was beautifully
the
played.
level of freakout he's having, like looking himself in the mirror and threatening to shoot himself if he fucks up the line again. It's like, what am I... Also, the line, 8 whiskey sours, what the fuck were you thinking? Just like, oh, that's...
Couldn't stop it too.
Couldn't stop it too. Just like, oh, come on. It is...
No, it's wonderful.
It is such a performance. And they play off each other because
the chemistry between them is great.
And we see it kind of right from the beginning, because like the first big scene they have together, we meet, oh god, Al Pacino.
Oh.
Al Pacino, Italian film producer.
Yeah.
Had myself a little Rick Dalton Film Festival. It's so great!
It's very Pacino. I mean, it's about as Pacino as you can get.
But it's old Pacino. This is the good Pacino. This isn't Jack and Jill Pacino.
You've seen that?
No, I have not. I saw the clip on YouTube. I refuse to give Adam Sandler money.
With the Dunkin' Donuts dance. Oh my god, beautiful.
No, I mean, this is classic Pacino with real presence. And him just jawing is just great. Him just talking to Rick Dalton and selling him on going to Italy to make movies.
Yeah.
And the little speech he does is really solid. It's kind of like, it's kind of like, why don't you go to Italy and start winning fights again? It's like, okay.
That's very convincing.
And you really get where this is coming from. The career trajectory that Rick Dalton has had is really clear.
I was pretty much on board with the movie after that scene.
Yeah.
Because then I was like, okay, I want to see what happens with these characters.
I mean, you know what got me? It's kind of like, the Pacino thing is great. Him tussling around his little viewing theater in his robe with a little glass of cognac.
Yeah, with his wife. It's so cute.
35mm print. It's like, oh, dude, I want that life. I want to be able to walk into my little viewing booth with a little ascot, a little robe, a little glass of cognac, and put on my 35mm print of the 15 Fists of McClunky, or whatever it was.
Or the 15 Fists of McClunky.
Or McCluskey. McClunky is the Star Wars thing.
It's such a great title.
I want this movie. I don't know what this movie is based off. I don't know where Tarantino got it. I want this movie.
I want that movie. He should definitely make them.
Oh, he should. But it's like...
Just like how they made those Planet Terror, like...
Oh, yeah.
The trailers.
They
actually made Machete.
Rob Zombie did a thing.
Yeah, they actually made Machete.
They actually did. But...
So stupid.
It's so stupid. It's so great, though. But, yeah, I mean, that sold me on the world they were building. Yeah. I love this place, this era of Hollywood they're showing me. Mm-hmm. But right afterwards, where... DiCaprio they get in the car, and DiCaprio can't drive because he has too many DUIs, apparently.
Yeah.
And we get these wonderful little Kurt Russell voiceover bits, like he's narrating the film.
That's true, and he has a little cameo.
He has a little cameo.
It was great.
But when DiCaprio has this breakdown in the car, like he gets emotional, he's kind of like,
yeah, right before
I'm washed up, buddy.
Yeah.
And there's this wonderful little moment where, any movie... Two big actors, very macho stars, this era, you're expecting suck it up, or get off me, and all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. And you just got, Brad Pitt in his very cool, chill, Cliff Booth mode, kind of reaching over, going like, it's alright, buddy, here, put some sunglasses on, you're okay.
Yeah, it was really...
comforting, and it's like, okay.
Well, that's what I mean, like, the chemistry between them was really great.
Yeah, that was the little bit, like, that little moment, I'm like, okay, I want to see what these guys are up to. Mm. And then I realized what the movie was. This is a hangout movie.
It's bro love, man.
It's bro love. It's a hangout film. And I'm like, oh, I love that. Because the genre is important.
Sure.
And once you know what genre you're in, you feel a little safer about the movie you're watching. Because you're not too scared where you're going to be taken.
Yeah, because that was the thing with, that's kind of the... you have it. Tarantino has a history.
Tarantino has a real history.
Yeah, so that's what I mean by it caught me a bit off guard, because I was like, okay, so this is a very different Tarantino movie. And I was fully on board. If he makes another movie where he has no violence in, or very subdued, I am fully on board. The guy is really competent.
He's really sold me on the fact that he can do that.
Yeah.
Because this movie is really low on the violence. It's not too profane, like unnecessarily trying to aggravate people.
And the drama's done really well.
The drama's great. The writing is amazing. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of this movie that is both naturalistic and lyrical in its language. It's like, it has a great script.
Especially the scenes when they're doing Lancer.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's so good. And you're kind of like...
When he has that little conversation with the little girl, it was absolutely incredible.
And this is the first time I've thought to myself, please, Tarantino, don't stop at 10. He's been threatening that for years.
Well, he's still on board if they're going to make a Star Trek.
Yeah, but I'm like, you know what?
Which is a weird thing for him.
I want to see where he goes. Yeah. Because he's getting better. I can see his trajectory is maturing. Which is
that's the word you want to use. It's maturing. It's no longer the sort of
he's not throwing
movies. I mean, they're great. They've always been. So his movies have always been sort of a step above others in the same genres.
Yes, no, completely.
So he's always been a really competent director and probably one of the greatest directors of our time.
Yeah.
But seeing him take on more dramatic movies like this one, I think I would love to see him do that more.
I would adore it, because, I mean, there's so much about this movie that works really, really well on a pure, like, narrative level. The drama is really good, and beyond all the shock factor stuff.
Yeah, because he's always been really good at character interplay. Like, dialogue scenes between characters has always been his forte. Yeah. Like, he does that incredibly well.
But he's only usually had one or two... He's only had enough room for one or two of those.
Yeah.
Dr. Schultz and Django, Jules and...
what's his name?
What's Travolta's name in that? I can't remember.
Uh,
You know what
I
I
want
mean?
to say Vern, but it's not.
Vincent?
Vincent, that's
Yeah,
the one,
Vincent
yeah.
and Jules. He's always had like a couple of these like bromances in his movies, but he usually doesn't have a lot of room for more than that.
Yeah, which is why like a dramatic movie would have more time for that, for building up.
And
he kind of found a great balance. I'm sorry to cut you off, but he kind of found a great way to sort of circumvent that with Hateful Eight.
Yep.
Where the whole movie is just a situational drama.
Yes, pretty much. It's a chamber drama.
It's a chamber drama.
It's an Agatha Christie on steroids.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. It's Agatha Christie on steroids, where you have these 8 people stuck in a room.
Yeah.
Essentially,
and it works really well.
And the whole movie is just this really tension-filled dialogue.
But here's the thing, though.
With bursts of violence. That
movie gets kind of... Hateful Eight works really well, but on one level, it kind of defeats its own purpose. Because the drama's great, the writing's fantastic, but then we keep being distracted by the Tarantino-ness.
Yes.
Whereas it's kind of like, okay, this is really great, Samuel L. Jackson is putting in a hell of a performance. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, he made a man do what in the snow?
Yeah.
And you're kind of, it takes you out of
exactly.
it a lot.
And that's what I mean by sort of taking out or maturing, essentially. Yeah. That's what I mean by maturing. Like, you can actually see a transition in his movies. And I would love to see what that evolves into.
Yes. Because, I mean, if we're going to follow the trajectory, what I'm comparing him to now, what I never used to, is Scorsese.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, because we start off with stuff like Mean Streets, we go into something like Taxi Driver,
Absolutely.
Where, the drama's great, the writing's fantastic, the shock factor is very present. And then we end up with stuff like Seven, or not Seven, what am I thinking? Silence?
Yeah,
Silence, very mature, composed, and yet intensely engaging.
Yeah.
And that's
another movie.
Shutter Island.
But yeah, Shutter Island.
It's like that maturing really works for some of these directors. And I think Tarantino has that potential, and I didn't used to think so. This movie sold me on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was the same way.
Because for me, Jackie Brown is the point where I thought that was coming, and then he went back again. Because Jackie Brown has a lot more in common with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood than any of the other films.
No, I have to see it.
You really do.
Yeah.
If for no other reason than the... what is her name again? I can't remember the main actress's name.
Is she from The L Word?
No, Pam Grier?
Yeah, Pam Grier.
Pam Grier. Is she an L Word?
Yeah.
I've never watched The L Word. But
I would know. Why would you? I don't.
But Pam Grier is amazing in that movie.
I don't know why that was the first thing that popped in my head.
I love the fact that this lady has such a filmography of like classic like blaxploitation movies and such, and you went for The L Word.
The L Word, yeah, man.
That says a lot about you, my friend, but I don't judge. So
I have a very wide breadth of taste.
Sure you do. No, but I mean, and this movie just... I could watch hours of them driving around old L.A.
It was kind of sad when he actually went to Italy. Because I was like,
but I mean, they don't spend a lot of time there.
No, it's essentially a montage.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's follow through. So we've kind of figured out who Cliff Booth is, kind of figured out who Rick Dalton is.
Oh, my favorite thing.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, actually, so it's not really my favorite, but it's one of the best moments in the movie.
Yeah, go for it.
Is an interview with Bruce Lee.
Oh shit!
So good.
What
that was so
is
funny.
happening?
That was so funny. And then the wife's reaction after he dents the car, which is great. Because Kurt Russell has a little cameo, and I love that cameo.
Yeah, it's really great. I mean, that comes a little later in the movie. But
I don't want to spoil the movie, to be honest.
No,
I kind of want to.
I'm trying to stay away from it a little bit because it is the one thing.
What my point was going to be was like, this movie is filled with these like really great moments throughout the whole movie.
Yeah,
and there's really not a dull moment.
No,
the dullest moment is actually the Manson stuff. Those are the dullest moments.
But here's the thing I will say, and this is like a little bit later in the film. We've got Cliff Booth. He has to go and fix an antenna, right?
Yeah, I love that scene.
And I mean, let's be clear. I don't think there's a lot of men in this world who looked at that scene and didn't think, this is not fair. 56-year-old Brad Pitt strips off his shirt.
Oh my god!
And you're just like, fuck you, pal. This
He's
is
got
nuts.
better skin than I do, and I'm 28.
This man is fitter than both of us combined.
Yeah, what? Sure. I'm not that fit, but go on.
Neither am I. I mean, that's my point. This guy is in incredible shape for being 56.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Oof.
I mean, he's close to the same age as my dad, and I can promise you, my dad does not look like this. But yeah, I mean, I love the fact that the Cliff Booth character is kind of like what makes the movie work in a lot of ways, because there are so many details that don't add up about this guy. He's super chill. I love him buying food for his dog.
Yeah.
Did you notice the brand?
Yeah,
it was great. It was kind of like
all of them were the same.
Wolf Bite or something like that for mean dogs. It's like he makes himself,
which plays in.
Yeah, I mean he makes himself this awful looking mac and cheese because he goes home.
Yeah, with the synthetic cheese. It just looked horrible.
Because I mean later on in the at some point in the film, like the order doesn't matter because we're not trying to spoil here, but he drives Rick home. And Rick has this huge fucking house and a pool, and he's drinking whiskey sours while in an inflatable chair in his pool while practicing his lines.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know if that was an actual thing of the era where he had the tape recorder of someone saying the other person's lines, and then he would say his lines, and the little breaks. That was such a wonderful little thing.
And I bet it's real.
I bet it's real.
I bet money it's real.
It's such a great thing.
And it sets this character so beautifully. No one needs to do exposition on these guys. It's all there.
Yeah, a great example of show, don't tell.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly though, we did miss one thing, that we opened the film with an interview on the set of Bounty Law.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because of the tiny character interaction where they're like, so, Rick Dalton, you're doing this and all the rest of it, and so, Cliff, you're a stunt double. What is a stunt double? And, well, no, he, he helps me out, and he takes those scenes, and...
Yeah, he said, because if I get injured, we have to hold production several weeks, and that's why we need people like Cliff over
here. Yeah, to help carry the load, and then cut to Cliff going and that's what you think, Cliff? I'm here to carry his load? That sounds about right.
Yeah, I'm here to carry his load.
Oh my god. Okay, you know who this guy is, and you know who Rick Dalton is. It's so great. And, we've seen Rick's house. I don't know if you noticed this. This fucking killed me. Outside his house, he has this goddamn huge thing of his face. Yeah,
the parking lot. That's how you know where to park his car. Yeah.
Did you see what it actually was? Because later on, you see the big poster it's taken from. And it's him on the floor with someone stepping on his head, and they've turned it.
Oh, okay, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, no, you see the poster later that it's from, and they've turned it so that it's actually him being stepped on.
All right, well that's
from
interesting.
Bounty Law, and it's like, okay,
that's kind of strange.
That's a weird piece of symbolism, but sure. But then we follow Cliff home, driving in, neon LA at night.
Yeah.
Beautiful. The music, the radio's playing, you hear
Yeah. No, the soundtrack is great in this movie.
Oh, and the radio is great, because it's channels and little weather reports and little talk radio things going on. But we are ending up at Cliff's place, which is a trailer behind a drive-in cinema, where you can see exercise equipment outside, and he has a dog, a big pit bull looking,
real mean
Brandy,
looking dog.
I think the name is.
Yeah, a real mean looking dog that's incredibly playful.
Which I believe is named after the ex-wife he may or may not have murdered.
Yes.
And it's that is such a bizarre little tick.
that's such a great detail of the character too. And they give you a flashback about it.
He's a war hero who may have murdered his wife, but the flashback doesn't tell you if he did.
Yeah, it's really great. The whole setup was amazing.
They're on a boat, she's giving him shit, and then cut, and he's sitting there with a harpoon.
Yeah, exactly. He's sitting there with a harpoon.
And you can look at his face and you're like, he might have done it.
He might have done it.
This guy might have done it.
I mean, after the Bruce Lee scene.
Oh my god. And then it's just him, and this is the part where we're talking about the little moments. where nothing exciting is happening, but I'm just terribly engaged by Cliff Booth at home. Just giving his dog this
just slop.
Oh,
I don't know what you call it. It just looks awful. And it's so funny because he puts 2 of them.
Yeah, and it's different flavors, and you can see him checking the flavors, like he's making. One of them's like raccoon, and the other one is
that was bear. So funny. Yeah, it was raccoon. So yeah, he pours 2 in the bowl.
Yeah,
and then he throws on top like little crackers or something. Yeah, like the dry dog food on top of it. Which is great.
And then he starts making his own terrible-looking mac and cheese. I mean, you just get heart disease looking at this thing. And then this is the part that was just like, it's such a small thing, but it tells you so much about this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He chills, he turns on TV, he sits back, and some guy on the TV is like giving shit about hippies.
Yeah.
Where he's kind of like, yeah, no, the damn hippies with their jazz music. And you just hear Cliff Booth going, yeah. Just talking to the TV in the trailer, and you're like, okay.
And not even a plate, just the whole pan in his hand.
Yeah.
And just fork. That's all it is.
This guy is, like, you can really tell this guy is kind of a proto-stoner.
Yeah. Which, sort of hinted at later on.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. That's kind of what kicks off
man, that ending,
which is really great.
Yeah, I mean, and, like, these characters are what keeps everything going. Mm-hmm. There's not a hell of a lot of narrative momentum, I guess you'd call it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much intriguing character. You're just so interested in these people.
And I guess we could mention, without spoiling, that you might be like us and afraid that he was gonna, soil the memory of Sharon Tate, like I've seen in that other movie that I mentioned, our worst of and best of.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, The Haunting of Sharon Tate.
Hell,
don't watch that.
No, don't do it yourself.
Please.
Because, I mean, that's what everyone was... That's certainly what I was worried about when I walked into this.
Yeah.
Like, you know where the Manson story ends, and it's with Sharon Tate. And you know Sharon Tate's in this movie. Margot Robbie plays Sharon Tate, and you're sitting there thinking to yourself, okay, well... I've seen what Tarantino does.
Margot Robbie look-alike.
Yeah. But, I mean, this isn't spoiler. Let's talk about the Sharon Tate scene in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, so what I was expecting was going to be the ending, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is... Because what I had gotten out of the movie until that scene was that, this is sort of an homage to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, so...
This is a love letter, man. I mean, this is all about that era of Hollywood.
Yeah, so I was thinking that maybe they're just going to do like a nice little homage and montage of Sharon Tate's movies and roles that she had throughout the years. What she was at when she was alive and active as an actress or actor. That happens in the middle of the movie. So that made me, again, tense up because I was like, oh shit, if this is happening in the middle of the movie.
Where are we ending?
Yeah.
But I mean, this is... Margot Robbie is amazing in this.
It's not her.
No, but like her bit as Tate. I'm not talking about when she goes into the cinema, like...
But it's not Margot Robbie, though.
What are you talking about?
Margot Robbie isn't in the movie, is she?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's not her. Is that her?
That is her.
Oh, okay.
What are you talking about?
I thought that was the other girl. That's like... It looks so much like her.
No.
It actually is Margot Robbie. Alright, never mind. Yeah, okay, never mind. Never mind.
I was completely what you're talking about, dude.
I was completely confused.
No, because, I mean, you got Sharon Tate, and she lives next door to Rick Dalton. That's kind of like, she's the neighbor, and this is the point where she's married to Roman Polanski, who I'm also very thankful is almost not in this goddamn movie.
You don't hear him say anything.
He talks, like, to the dog at one point. Like...
Maybe?
Yeah, no, there's a little bit where he's kind of like... The dog has some terribly cutesy, stupid name.
Yeah, when he's on the phone in the porch.
Yeah, and it's like, Polanski, thankfully, not in this movie at all, really.
Yeah.
He's a couple of times in his Lost in Power suit, and that's fine.
That looked really funny.
Because there's two people you don't want to see a lot of in this movie because they are uncomfortable characters.
Yeah.
Charles Manson for obvious reasons, Roman Polanski for perhaps less obvious to some people, but certainly
bad.
Uncomfortable reasons.
Yes.
What happened after this story with Polanski is not okay.
No.
Look it up yourself, I don't want to talk about it.
Sure.
But they give quite a lot of not too much screen time, but some really nice segments to Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate being a person.
Mm-hmm.
So she is driving around, she picks up a hitchhiking hippie girl. I think half the audience who knows the story goes, and then it was actually fine.
Yeah, it was actually completely fine.
And Margot Robbie carries a lot of, like, she does a really good job of creating human but really sweet.
Yeah, it was incredibly sweet.
Yeah, very
that's
tender,
definitely...
very warm, very nice. It's nice to watch. Wholesome, I guess you would call it.
Sure.
And
a lot of feet.
A lot of feet because it's
because
Tarantino. I mean, there's more feet later that's more direct, to put it that way. But
my God, this movie, oof! Like usually there's like one or two scenes. This movie goes all out.
Yeah, you can really tell he's stopped caring. He's like, really... you know what? I'm out. I'm proud.
He's like, people are on to me. That's it. I'm gonna go all out.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much like the Joel Schumacher and Batman and Robin. We are not hiding anything anymore.
It's just like, why not give them?
Yeah, you know what? Hey, I'm not the only one.
Have you heard his excuse for why he put Batnipples? Because he kind of it's really normal. It was just like because the suits are so anatomically correct. So he's like, why not have the nipples on everything else is showing? So he's like,
sure
all right,
thing, Joel. Yeah, whatever you say. I didn't notice all the naked statues,
the Greek statues,
these super close-ups of the butt in butt in spandex. Yeah. Let's
rubber butts. That's where it's all at.
Yeah, let's look through the list and see if you have a justification for all of these, shall we? Joel Schumacher needs to give up the goddamn ghost. But yeah, no, you got this, like, and Sharon Tate goes to the cinema to watch her own movie, and it's just such a great little bit.
Yeah, because they actually spend quite a bit of screen time before she enters the theater, which is really great.
Yeah, when it's just this wonderful little scene. Like, her trying, like, but what if I'm in the movie?
Yeah.
And it's not demanding, it's not, like, arrogant, it's just kind of like, she's not super famous at this point. She is... a side character in a few films. Her biggest film was in The Valley of the Dolls, which is referenced in the movie.
Yeah.
But also they reference it fantastically, which is kind of like, oh, are you the blonde girl? No. Are you the one who... No, I'm the one who dies on drugs or something like that.
Yeah.
Just like, oh! But, I mean, the other thing is, like, talking about, like, the homage to this era, I love this idea of, like, an old school cinema where... the guy, like, there's a maitre d' looking dude.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Brethren, or whatever it's called. Like, there's a name
throwback,
to the theater, and it's really sweet, again.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the word I would use. It is very sweet.
And I love that is in this movie, that they took the time for it. Of all of Tarantino's film, this one has felt the most... There's a lot of breathing room. It's patient. It's very relaxed.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, even though, so like I was saying earlier, he's really great at this inter-character dialogue.
Yeah.
The interplay between characters. But usually it's very tension-filled dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
This takes the tension right out of most of the dialogue in this movie. And you're just sat there with great character moments.
Because I think it works in two ways. Number one, they've got really good writing, so you can trust the dialogue to be engaging. And number two, you know where the end of the station is on this train. And there is tension in that, because this is... you are literally watching something heading for disaster. And that is not something you can get away from watching this movie. The second Sharon Tate is introduced into this film, and you know what the time period is, and you know anything about what this film is about, the time... It is... the thing that is like a Tarantino staple, which is the Hitchcock example. We know there's a ticking bomb under the table.
Yeah.
And now we're watching the conversation as it ticks down. There is a bomb at the end of this movie, and you know it. And you kind of are always waiting to see when it goes off.
Yeah, and I was hoping that it was not going to go off. Because I was just like, just, end it peacefully.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't end peacefully,
in a sense,
but it does not...
doesn't go there. Let's just put it that way.
It doesn't go there, and I've never been more relieved in a theater.
Yeah, sorry. Because I don't know if we mentioned it during the episode or it was before. If it was the conversation before. But yeah, Tarantino does a lot of weird things with his historical accuracy.
Yeah, because he's kind of in a weird... There's a couple of characters who are very much invented for this film. Specifically Rick Dalton, Cliff Booth, and one of the Manson girls who Cliff Booth interacts with.
Yeah.
They are all matters of imagination. The rest of the characters are either real or very directly based off a real person. For example, the Pacino character isn't an actual person, but it's very much referencing a specific producer at that time period who worked with Leone. And kind of doing that makes for an interesting historical record.
I was really mentioning Leone because it was really funny when Dalton talks about he's going to be working with the second best Italian Western.
No. Also, the other one that's really great is kind of like, I don't want to be in no goddamn Italian movies. They're no good. And then Cliff Booth goes, how many have you seen?
He's like, enough.
It's such a fantastic moment because you're like, okay, these guys know each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the thing you really connect with. Like, they don't talk like movie characters. They talk like you and me.
Yeah.
And I literally, when I was watching this movie, I remember our conversations have sometimes sounded like Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth.
Sure. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know when two guys talk.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so great.
And it's surprising how little that happens in movies.
Yeah, it really isn't a big thing these days.
And I don't really blame most directors or anything like that for it, because what you're taught in screenwriting school, because you've been there,
I did there.
is usually like, it doesn't matter if it's realistic or not, it needs to be deliberate.
Deliberate isn't really the problem. The problem is the words I used before. Narrative momentum.
Sorry.
Don't worry about it.
Mouth.
Yep, alright. And now we both have corona. So...
No.
No, but I mean narrative momentum, which is that pretty much always dialogue is to the overall purpose of either a theme or a narrative point. It's all supposed to be feeding into kind of a direction of the movie, which makes it really hard to have dialogue that is meandering or kind of purposeless, no matter how interesting. You need to have a hell of a lot of faith in yourself as a writer to do that.
Yeah, because if you listen to two people talking, the vast majority of the conversation is not interesting.
Yeah,
and when you only have a limit of, say, around 2 hours to make your feature-length film, you can't have a lot of that. Because conversations can go on for like 20, 30 minutes.
Ooh, your issue isn't that. And I actually know this from kind of like going into it. The problem is getting the film made. Because scripts go through editing processes.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, an editing process includes getting rid of the dead weight. Yeah. You kind of need to be where Tarantino is. He is the writer-director. He is a recognized voice of kind of filmmaking in himself. No one fucks with his scripts too much. You know what I mean? If he goes for a mood, you're gonna let Tarantino do it because it's Tarantino.
Mm-hmm.
You almost need to be in that position of your career to be able to make movies like this, because the rest of the time, the mechanics of how a Hollywood script is produced will get rid of a lot of these conversations.
Is it to cut on time, or is it just the editing process, essentially?
It's because studios don't trust attention span.
Well, that makes sense.
The narrative momentum, the driving force of the movie always has to be forward. It's kind of like why a lot of movies these days take a stopwatch and take the time between action beats.
Yeah, no, they're very...
Every 7 to 10 minutes, there you are. Even with someone like Nolan, I mean, Inception, the chase through Mumbai is exactly that. Where the studio looked at the script and said, it's too long between action beats. Put one right there. Okay.
Even someone of Nolan's caliber.
At least at that point in his career. Nowadays, I think he could probably get away with it. Because he is, again, a recognized voice.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily a bad thing.
I mean, there's a reason for it. But a hangout movie is a hard sell these days because of how much money it takes to make a movie.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. No, and I mean, Tarantino is kind of the master of this. And there's a lot of bits of Django that kind of work this way.
Yeah.
But you'll notice that in Django, even when they're just chatting, there's usually momentum. I mean, the best example in Django is the Brumhilde and I can't remember the name of the hero? I can't remember, but it's like they're talking about the German myth of the guy who has to go save the princess, which, it sounds like just a conversation about story, but is very clearly reflecting what the movie's about.
Yeah, and I guess that's sort of the fine line that you can sort of cross because then it's no longer dead weight.
Because it's narrative exposition.
Yeah, now it's informing the story.
It's informing the story, it's informing the theme, it's creating that effect.
Yeah, another great example of Tarantino in Glorious Bastards, one of the opening scenes is with Christoph Waltz's character, I forget his name, when he talks about finding... the rats.
Yeah, the Jew hunter bit.
Yeah.
I mean, the one in Inglourious Basterds, which is very clearly kind of about this kind of thing, is when you have Fassbender talking about German cinema, which is kind of like proving he used to work as a film critic, and you're just talking about filmmaking, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But it does inform later in the film when he has to justify himself as a German.
Yeah.
So it has narrative importance.
Versus,
those,
can't see me, but
like you're raising 3 fingers. It's this thing
how
where
you raise your 3 fingers.
The dialogue has to have purpose.
Yeah.
This movie, the dialogue has purpose, but it's all about character.
Yeah, and it works great in this movie.
Yeah, it really does, and the dialogue is like the best part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not watching this movie for the action sequences.
No.
You're watching this movie to hear these conversations, and they really are really good.
For sure. So
the one thing we were going to mention, though, is the Sharon Tate bit, where Margot Robbie goes into the cinema to watch her own movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And it's a Sharon Tate film, and they have not done a digital replace.
Yeah, because all the other scenes were digitally replaced by the corresponding actors. And she's the only actor that's not.
Yeah, Sharon Tate you are literally watching a part of a Sharon Tate film, which is probably most people's only experience with a Sharon Tate film. I have never seen a Sharon Tate movie.
Yeah.
So for me, and I think that really is the best send-up Tarantino could have done. And I think that's probably why I like this movie more than almost any other Tarantino film, which is that most of the time his love of cinema feels very abstract. Here, it kind of feels a little bit personal. You can tell there's a real affection, not just a enjoyment, but an actual tender affection for this late woman, her legacy, and this era of filmmaking. This feels like a personal movie for Tarantino, which is rare for him.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I meant. It's like it feels much more, like you were saying, personal, and it's a very subdued and different movie.
Yeah,
I would say
pace.
Very different from any of his other work.
Oh yeah,
and and I'm not a huge Tarantino fan, generally speaking. Just because I'm not gratuitous violence isn't really my thing.
Yep.
But I've always enjoyed his movies overall, but this one really got me. Got me engaged. So yeah. I'm very much looking forward to his future movies, if he makes any.
And I mean, I think we've referenced it before, but my God, the Lancer scene, where Rick Dalton has to be in this cowboy show, that is just unbelievable.
Such a great scene. I mean, like I was saying earlier, I've seen, Leonardo DiCaprio is a good actor.
Oh, yeah.
He's even a great actor.
He's a great actor when he's given the right tools.
Yeah. But in that scene, I've never seen DiCaprio act that well in any movie, let alone a show within a movie.
Oh, God, yeah.
I
mean, this is DiCaprio's showreel for the rest of his life. He's got 3 scenes after each other, all 3 of which are incredible.
Yeah.
Him talking to the little girl.
Yes, I absolutely love that scene so much.
That little girl is amazing, and Tarantino.
Yes.
I don't know
who she is. Yeah.
Holy crap, that girl's got a career ahead of her.
Yeah, it might be like a lucky strike, just like Margot Robbie with Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street. No, I mean, that little girl is really good in this scene.
Really, really
and
good.
I mean, you're watching this movie, and I'm used to DiCaprio being pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
And when he starts talking about this book he's reading, this Bronco rider who has losing his, like, broke his back or something, and his career is going down.
Yeah.
And you can just see him, like, realizing he's talking about himself.
Yeah. He's just
and his heart is breaking. And then this perfect little character moment, this girl's like, there, it's okay. And he's like, thank you, honey, or something like that.
Yeah.
And she says, look, I realize you're upset. I don't like nicknames.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about this later.
A little lady. So
little lady.
Like, I don't like being told.
And you're just like, okay.
Yeah,
this is
such
great.
A beautiful little scene.
Followed by his freak out in the trailer, which is full force.
It kind of had like a nice throwback to Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh,
speaking of Wolf of Wall Street, yeah.
From the one it reminded me of is Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. That's sort of the scene. I guess that's almost verbatim the scene.
Oh, not quite. It's like a little bit more expressive than that. But yeah, it's kind of like this. This is a proper old school. Let's give this actor a mirror and let's see what the fuck happens.
Yeah, and let's just intercut between the little
great
freakouts.
It's such an amazing freakout. It is one of the great cinematic freakouts.
Yeah.
And then we follow up with the Lancer scene, which is it's Rick Dalton as an actor portraying the bad guy in an episode of a Western show.
Yeah. And it was just breathtaking.
And I gotta tell you, evil, sexy Hamlet is a perfect description.
Evil, sexy Hamlet. That's so great.
and it's
director.
Okay, this is kind of like a little small fun fact. The character, not the actor playing him, but the character in the movie is Sam Wanamaker. He was an actor who then directed some episodes of Lancer. He's also pretty much single-handedly responsible for rebuilding the London Globe, the Shakespeare Theatre. He was like a huge proponent of old Shakespeare and just poured a lot of money and effort into rebuilding the Globe after it burnt down. So him giving a Shakespearean character is perfect.
Yeah.
Sexy evil Hamlet. No, Zapata hat. It's just everything this man says is amazing. And these three scenes are just... That is a knockout of a performance. This is Rick Dalton. This is DiCaprio's best work in ever. I can't remember him ever being better.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, which really puts into perspective what he actually won the Oscar for, which was Revenant. The movie where he doesn't act.
No, not
very
really.
much.
I'm just going to eat this raw buffalo liver.
And in my opinion, Tom Hardy did a much better job. But,
and I don't blame DiCaprio. Just he didn't give him a lot to work with.
No, I mean that was the role, and he did the role really well. But it's not really an Oscar-worthy role.
I mean, he should have won it for
Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that Rob Reiner's in that as his dad. The guy who directed Princess Bride.
Yeah, that's true.
I just love that. But it's like, no. DiCaprio has sometimes really pulled it out. He usually does it for Scorsese. I mean, him and Django is great.
Yes.
This is the best DiCaprio's ever been as Rick Dalton, and it's an amazing performance.
Yeah, because I totally agree. I think DiCaprio usually is a really good and sometimes even great actor, but for the most part, it's DiCaprio playing a DiCaprio role.
Yeah,
like if you know what I mean.
This is interesting because this is a DiCaprio role, but with enough pathos and just a little bit of self-recognition.
Enough self-recognition, I think.
And I think
really
that it's the same thing for the Cliff Booth character, which is that it is a very Brad Pitt kind of role, but with just a little bit of a recognition of the almost dangerous quality behind that.
Yeah.
And that, I think, this is... If he didn't know who he was casting when writing this, Tarantino lucked the hell out.
For sure.
You gotta assume he wrote it for them specifically, because it is too good a match.
And, and even the guy from Homeland and Billions plays Steve
Christ.
McQueen in that one scene.
What is his name? I can't remember.
I don't know, but that was a great little scene because
he looks like Steve McQueen.
He does, right?
He really
He
does.
really does. And he was talking about Sharon Tate in that scene. It was just a beautiful little scene, and that has absolutely
they're at the Playboy Mansion, I think.
Yeah, they are at the Playboy Mansion, and that has so little to do with the rest of the movie, but it's like these little great character moments throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, and I mean, and you sometimes hear about a movie talking about like a city or a location as character. L.A. 1960 whatever is a character in this movie. There's so much personality in these settings that they set up. The drive-in theater, Rick's house. I love
the old ranch.
Oh
place
yeah, the film ranch.
The film ranch, yeah.
We'll get there, but I want to mention one thing first, which is I don't know if you know this, but this is really cool. So at one point they say Rick Dalton gets driven home by Cliff, and says, "You want to come in and watch my FBI?"
Yeah.
So they go in and they're watching an episode of FBI, which is this old, like, hugely popular show where Rick Dalton's playing a bad guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is an actual episode. It is a shot-for-shot recreation of an episode of FBI, but it was Burt Reynolds, not Rick Dalton.
Yeah, I thought they just cut the character out. I didn't know that they were actually reenacted.
I don't know if it was a reenactment or if it was an insert shot.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they did
Burt
insert.
Reynolds.
I'm pretty sure they did insert when they talk about The Great Escape.
Yes, and that's kind of the weird thing where you don't know exactly what that scene is. Because on the set of Lancer, who is that actor? I can't remember. There's an actor who plays the Lancer character.
He's the guy who plays the first. He's the guy who plays the first Hitman movie.
Oliphant?
Oliphant.
Timothy
Yeah.
Oliphant.
Yeah, that's his name.
And he's chatting with
he's in Justified, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in Justified.
Yeah.
He's chatting with DiCaprio, and he's saying, "Weren't you in the Great or considered for the Great Escape?" And then we see a scene from the Great Escape, but it's with Rick Dalton, and you're like, "Wait, okay, what is this scene? Did he screen test for it and get fired? Did he not? Did he imagine he was going to get it?"
No, I'm pretty sure that's what that because the whole movie they don't really do imagination or stuff in the throughout the whole movie. I know. But I'm pretty sure that what that was hinting at was that he did do a screen test.
Yeah.
And just didn't get the part or
something. Which is probably why he left the show, Bounty Law, which is trying to get that role.
Yeah, and then he didn't get it, and then
Steve McQueen got it.
Yeah, and that kind of ruined his career.
Yeah, which is really interesting. Again, it's little pieces of Hollywood history kind of influencing this. There's so much little stuff going on in this movie. This is a puzzle piece movie. There isn't a huge overarching thing happening. There's just little pieces that fit together really perfectly.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it might be a bit intimidating with the screen, the runtime, I mean, but it kind of flew by, to be honest.
Yeah, because this movie isn't asking you to remember details. It isn't a murder mystery. It's not like you need to follow the clues. You're just hanging out.
Yeah, man.
And then suddenly have, the third act of the movie, they end the second act of the movie just going yeah, and then they went to Italy.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're like, wait, what?
And that threw me a bit off.
Yeah, me too.
I was so engaged all the way up until that point, and I was just like, oh, okay. That's a bit weird.
Yeah, and then it's kind of we want a little interlude of all the stuff that happened in Italy. With
yeah,
lots of,
a little montage.
A lot of pasta being eaten, and some terrible, what is the guy's name? There's a character.
I know, I just saw it a few days ago, but my God.
I can't remember, but it's kind of it's very Clint Eastwood career trajectory stuff going on. I mean, and that's pretty much what Eastwood's career was. He did Rawhide, which was an American Western show, which he then left, tried to make it in movies, didn't quite work out in Hollywood, ended up going and doing Italian movies with Leone. So, I mean, there's so much of this which is reflected in Hollywood history.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, Brad Pitt with mutton chops, that's a look.
Yes.
That is such a look.
That is definitely a look. And, I love the voiceover in that little montage.
Yeah, Kurt Russell. And Kurt Russell showed us up in the movie, as we mentioned. Yeah.
which kind of brings us back to our little trilogy that we did earlier, exactly. Which we just finished.
Yep.
But yeah, so so he was talking like, and he put on 13 pounds.
Oh,
so he got married to
Love the paparazzi.
Yeah, he loves the paparazzi.
Nebraska Jim.
Nebraska Jim, yes, Nebraska Jim.
I just have it in my head. And listening to Al Pacino going, Sergio, turn on channel 7. I'm looking at your Nebraska Jim. It's like,
that's so good. I love that scene.
That's so great. I mean, we haven't even talked about the what actually surprisingly might be the most controversial scene in the film, the Bruce Lee bit.
Is it?
Yeah, because there was a lot of shit that happened after that because of the family of Bruce Lee got very upset about that portrayal.
Well, he was known as the little guy with the mouth.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, but apparently, the family took real offense, and there was a lot of shit talking going on back and forth, and...
That's surprising.
Yeah, I don't know why this really struck that chord, but the deal is that when Cliff Booth has to go and fix this aerial, he climbs on the roof, he's doing the job, and he's thinking back, why isn't he been asked to do stunt work on this Lancer show?
Yeah.
And we end up in this amazing little flashback.
Yeah, no, that's what's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, it's so great, which is... What essentially happens is that Kurt Russell is trying to say, like, dude, can we not have this guy on my set? He probably killed his wife. He's kind of freaking me out.
And then he does Dalton the solid, and he brings him on.
Yeah, because Dalton pretty much says, look, he's a war hero. Yeah. He's my stuntman. Come on.
And you're not going to find someone better than him, essentially, blah, blah.
And I think it's Green Hornet.
Yeah, it's Green Hornet.
It's Green Hornet. Yeah. And then...
Because that was the one where Bruce Lee was involved.
And Bruce... Best line of the movie, which is kind of like, the judge says if I killed a man with my hands, it would be considered
a lethal weapon.
A lethal weapon, at which point it's like, that's called manslaughter.
Yeah, like anyone who kills someone with their hands
goes to jail. And yeah, it's
such a great little scene.
Bruce Lee versus Cliff Booth.
Well, Bruce Lee, reportedly, so what's actually been recorded and reported on, he's only actually had one real fight. And the story goes that it pretty much ended up being like any fight that you see on the street, where it starts out with someone trying to punch and kick, but eventually just people rolling on the floor.
Yeah.
So for all of his technique and all that stuff, when it came down to a real fight, it just ended up not really mattering all that much.
Which isn't entirely surprising.
No.
That's the same for most martial arts.
And he's an actor first and foremost. He's not really like a...
I mean, he was a professional martial artist.
Yeah, he trained under Ip Man and all that stuff with Wing Chun.
Wing Chun, he did his own thing.
Jeet Kune Do.
And I mean, he was a professional martial artist.
Yeah,
championship.
And he won a ton of championships, and he got a ton of belts.
Ton of belts, ton of championships. Apparently an incredibly a high-achieving martial artist who then became an actor.
Yeah.
At no point was he a world-known brawler.
No, but he played himself up as one.
And he carried a gun at all times to avoid getting into an actual fight because he kept being challenged.
Yeah. So, but that was sort of a shtick. He's a little guy, but he's like super tough, and he plays himself up.
Yeah. Which you kind of would be in that situation, I suspect.
Yeah, and so, and he would often talk about beating Ali and Mike Tyson and stuff, and it is equally laughable now as it was back then, in my opinion. Which is like... And so they really do a great little scene with that.
Yeah, no, it's like... and I love the fact that it is Cassius Clay, and you kind of do need to know a little bit of that history to know they're talking about Ali.
Because... At that point, I guess he was just...
He was just called Cassius Clay. He changed his name legally later when he converted.
When he converted, and also after... it was after the Foreman fight?
After the Foreman fight.
Yeah, it was after the Foreman fight. Great movie, by the way. If you want to see Will Smith in a dramatic role, but actually do it well.
Yeah, no, that... I mean, in the legends of yore, that happened.
Yeah, it did happen.
Will Smith did good performances. I remember these things.
And I think that role was kind of catered to him, because this is a very charismatic character, and
that right.
And so that was really tailored to Will Smith, and he did it really well.
Yeah, and then later on he did Aladdin.
Yes, he did last year.
And I gotta be honest with you, I've seen a clip now of Prince Ali.
Fabulous Ali Bois.
Y'all.
Y'all.
And I'm thinking to myself, dude, there's a reason you left rap. Get the fuck off this.
Big Willie style. And he's not talking about his penis.
No. That movie looks... I never watched the new Aladdin. I couldn't make myself...
I haven't seen any of the
little clip I saw was terrible.
Back to this movie.
Yeah. But I mean, the other thing...
Tangent aside. We have to have a couple of those at least.
We've had plenty today. Admittedly, this movie, it could be tangent aside. This movie takes a lot of tangents.
Yes, it does.
Which is kind of admirable, because...
Yeah, because it's... I guess if you don't look at because there is an overarching, I guess, timeline through the movie.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like tiny vignettes.
It is very vignette. Yeah.
They don't really, no one scene sort of plays into the next.
No, I mean,
except for the very end, I guess.
Very end, but I mean, the FBI scene we just mentioned comes right after the Spawn movie ranch, which is kind of like the tensest scene of the movie, except for the end.
Yeah.
And it's not mentioned. It really is just a case of moving on.
Yeah, no, it's very much designed like it's built up as tiny vignettes.
Yeah, I mean, this could have been a TV show.
Sure.
But I prefer it as a movie.
It would have been a pretty interesting TV show. I mean, if he cast Brad Pitt and DiCaprio in a TV show.
Like an 8-episode limited series or something.
And playing these characters, I would have definitely been on board.
I would have loved it. But
yeah, as like
I think it works
HBO
really well
special or something.
But I mean, the thing I will say about the Bruce Lee bit is that, I mean, all they do is kind of show him to be a bit of a big talker, a bit arrogant, and they do end in a draw with a very dented car.
Yeah, but I mean that was him though.
Yeah,
it's very authentic to the guy.
As far as I'm aware, yeah. I mean, I haven't looked into this part too much, but it makes sense.
No, I mean me and my brother mainly huge fan of Bruce Lee.
All right.
And Bruce Lee movies, so we kind of know a little bit about him.
Yeah. I also love the fact that there is another scene with him where Sharon Tate has a little flashback to her being taught her martial arts moves because he was like a martial arts teacher to a lot of these actors and such at this point.
That's true. That was also really nice.
Yeah, and there's a cute little scene, and it's like there's a lot of good balance in this movie.
And one thing to mention, I mean, because they kind of overlay or the transparent the training, which was with Margot Robbie as
exactly,
and then the actual movie bit where she does these things, and seeing how closely they resemble each other is amazing.
God, it really is just. Yeah. They got really lucky that Margot Robbie is such a good actress because the visual match is incredible. Mm-hmm. It really is. But also, I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy playing Bruce Lee, holy crap, he looks like Bruce Lee. Mm. They did a really good job there.
Yeah, no, overall, I mean, they did a really good job with the makeup department.
I think. Huge job.
And the casting.
Should we talk about the Spawn movie ranch, or should we leave that one alone? Because that touches on the Manson stuff, and the Manson stuff is where it gets spoily.
Yes.
And I've tried to stay away. The thing I will say...
I mean, we have talked about a lot of the movie.
We have talked about it. But again, we kind of haven't, because we have avoided a lot of the bigger points. We've talked about the little stuff in between, which is the stuff I remember the best.
Yeah, same.
But the thing I will say is kind of like, we talked about this being a tame Tarantino film, right? False sense of security. You do not want to take someone who isn't prepared for a Tarantino film into this movie.
Or cover their eyes for the last 5 minutes.
Or that.
Yeah.
Because,
those last 5 minutes, they are. I mean, it's funny though.
Oh, it is.
It's really played up to be really funny.
Can we talk about my favorite little cutaway in the entire film? It's a tiny thing from the beginning, but I just love it so much. Where we have Pacino going like, "Yeah, you bursting on these Nazis with your flamethrower. That was actually you. cut to.
Yeah.
First the movie where you have the going like,
oh! Yeah, with the
who wants fried sauerkraut? And then cut to my favorite little segment. It's kind of like, you just see Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, because Leonardo DiCaprio says, that was actually me. I trained with that for I don't know how long.
3 months or something. Cut to DiCaprio with a flamethrower going, pshh. Is there any way we can get it a little less hot?
Yeah, he's like, whoa, that's hot. Can we make it a little less hot?
Best line of the movie. Look, it's a flamethrower. Right?
Yeah, it's a flamethrower. And he's like, fair enough.
No, it's a flamethrower, Rick. And like, not angry, not upset, just, it's a flamethrower, Rick. And just DiCaprio just giving this little bit like, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Just, oh my god, I burst out laughing when I saw it. It is such a perfectly little timed piece of comedy. And then we're back to the conversation with Pacino.
Yeah. But like, this is what I mean. Like, it's these beautiful little vignettes and character moments. And
you just really get such an overwhelming world-building sense of this era and this time.
Because I can imagine that flamethrower scene, like, even completely out of context, just some guy hitting a flamethrower and then asking for it to be a little less hot.
Yeah.
That could be a great TikTok or whatever.
Oh, yeah, it's an amazing little bit. And I mean,
or a Vine if you're my generation.
Yeah, and it's just, it is such a beautiful little moment. It's not building towards anything really. It's not making a big deal out of anything. It's just kind of like, it's cool.
Yeah, no, it's hilarious.
And the whole movie's full of this. I mean, talking about the Bruce Lee scene, I love the fact that we just, like, because we have Cliff Booth on the roof, he's repairing the thing, he's kind of like, you hear him in his head just going like, it's Sean's friend, or whatever the guy's name, Kurt Russell's character's friend, who's in charge here. Cut back after the Bruce Lee bit, just kind of like, that's fair.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing with the flamethrower. Like, fair enough.
You just have, Cliff Booth just had this little moment of like, I get that. That's fair enough. And then keeps repairing the antenna. It's just like, these little character moments are so great.
So, would you recommend this movie?
This is an essential for me. I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie.
So 10 out of 10.
This is a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, it's close for me.
Because it's so unique in what it's doing. It is such a beautiful... I mean, for someone like me who is very into film history... And classic Hollywood and this era of filmmaking is something I really treasure. This is kind of like the perfect love letter. And I kind of adore it. Yeah. It's a movie I can just turn on and have on. And just enjoy the atmosphere and that kind of easygoing memory lane feel it has.
Yeah, I mean, I would keep everything and then literally end it right before the ending and just cut that out, and that would be a 10 out of 10 for me. That ending really threw me for a loop, to be honest. I
agree, but I mean, I like the ending. And the reason I like the ending is I'm not going to get too much into it, but here's the thing I will say. If the movie had gone the way of, for example, Django, where it very much is relishing what the ending is, where it's really taking great pleasure in that aspect, I wouldn't have liked it.
It does a little bit.
Yeah, but then it gets uncomfortable. And it clearly is aiming to make you uncomfortable because it goes way past the bounds of where, there's a limit as you know the movie ends with violence. We've clearly made that very obvious. There is a point in violence where you're kind of like, oh my god, what the hell? Oh, Jesus. But if it keeps going...
Yeah, then it's just like, ooh, okay.
Oh, and then it keeps going a little further, and you're just kind of sitting there kind
of dog food could do that.
You're curling into yourself, and that's where this movie goes.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part where I kind of like, I get this. This is the first time Tarantino has actually taken enough of a step back from, like, the enjoyment of violence into the uncomfortableness of what you're actually watching.
Yeah, I mean, it starts out a little wacky, but yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, and I think it's the fact that it starts wacky, you're like, there's a lot of people, me included, who are just kind of like, there he is.
Yeah, same for me. I was like, okay, that's a Tarantino.
And then it goes past that point, and I'm kind of sitting there going, okay, I'm actually getting uncomfortable in the cinema right now. I'm sitting there feeling uncomfortable about what I'm watching, and that's interesting.
I guess.
So for me, that, like, if it had not taken that approach to it, I probably would have had more issues with it. But the fact that it's taking that particular tonal beat, that it's deciding to go for... It's going so far overboard that it is no longer fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's stripping a lot of the fun out of what's happening. That, for me, was kind of like that's a maturity thing. That's like this is a little bit of a recognition of what you've done before and kind of taking that step of reflection.
Yeah. And it's better than the alternative, I guess.
It is so much better than the alternative. And that's why I kind of stand by it. I will defend that ending a little bit.
Yeah, because I think I would have pretty much just cut that bit out and then just ended with the homage, the little clips of Sharon Tate that happens during the credits.
Yeah,
and just have that run instead.
But I think that, for me, that wouldn't have worked. Because...
It wouldn't have been... Because they do set up the Manson stuff, I guess.
They do, but they also set up the Cliff stuff.
Yeah, and you want that to pay off, which... I mean, I understand what you mean.
Again, the movie has had a ticking bomb under the table for 2 hours and 30 minutes, and you know what? If the movie ended without that bomb going off in some fashion, it would have felt like a deflated balloon. It would have lost a lot of its air.
Now that I'm thinking over, you're absolutely right. And I guess the bright side is that it's short. It's very short.
It is incredibly intense.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, again, it's this intensity where... Unlike the Django thing, it goes so far beyond the woo factor. And when because I watched this in theaters, I watched this in the cinema, and I remember it started, and you could hear people going like, "Oh yeah, woo!"
Finally gonna get
Tarantino. And then they got quiet.
Yeah.
2 minutes in, everyone shut the hell up. And that is an interesting feeling in a cinema when that happens. Because everyone is sharing that moment of, this is too much. The room went quiet. Admittedly, there's a little bit at the end where people came back a little bit.
Yeah.
Me included, but...
yeah,
oh my god. But yeah, that feeling is really interesting. And that's somewhere I'm not used to going emotionally in a film. And it's not somewhere I ever expected to go in a Tarantino film.
No, okay.
So for me, that ending really... It was about the most unexpected way they could have let the bomb go off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy they did.
Sure.
I will defend the ending. And I can understand why people would have issues with it. I can understand why people don't want to watch it. I will never disagree with that. I mean,
it wasn't... For me personally, it wasn't... I know what you're saying. Mm. Yes, it does go to a bit of an uncomfortable spot at a point, but it wasn't like... I guess we've seen much worse in other, especially in horror movies.
And I think for me, the fact that that experience I had in the cinema, the collective experience, informs a lot of what I'm saying.
Yeah. So we've seen a lot worse, especially in horror movies and stuff like that, but it's... But yeah, I mean, it's short, it's intense, and... I guess it does fulfill the ticking time bomb principle.
And the one thing I will say, and I want to thank Tarantino for, you know what? If you're going to have a dog in a scene, thank you for making it the most obvious puppet possible.
Yeah, right?
You know what? I don't need that dog to be hyper-realistic. Give me the goddamn puppet.
Not in that scene, at least.
Nope. You know what? That is completely fine.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
And you know what? I say uncomfortable. I mean, I've had movies where I've left for certain scenes. And I will admit, the one that really stands out to me is, it was a movie I'd seen before, so I knew what was coming, and I chose to leave the theater when I watched this movie for my studies, which is the David Fincher remake of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Okay.
The scene at the beginning of the film-ish, I walked out. I came back in again afterwards, but I didn't want to watch that again.
Yeah, because they... do it a little differently in the original.
In the original, it is no less horrifying, but less enjoying.
Yeah,
again, that quality of taking voyeuristic pleasure.
It's not as visceral, I should say, in the original trilogy. Because they're a trilogy of books which they adapted for Swedish television, which
were then made in one film. Got turned in the first movie turned into a David Fincher film.
Yeah. And they didn't do any sequels. Well, they did one, which was not really a sequel
No,
because it's not based on a book.
It is based on a book, but it's not based off the original trilogy.
Yeah.
The original trilogy was continued by a different writer, and they took one of those books and adapted it.
Yeah, the Spiderweb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which looked weird, and I never did watch it.
Yeah, I didn't watch it either. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. And I had a very visceral reaction to the movie Irreversible. The French one with Monica Bellucci, I believe.
Yeah, Bellucci. Yeah. I've never watched it, but I know what you mean. I know what you're talking about.
And that movie is great. I highly recommend that movie, except for that scene, which is...
Yeah, but I mean, being uncomfortable isn't always a bad
No,
thing.
It's not. I mean, I would just put a warning. I mean, it does serve a very specific purpose, and it's not... it's not doing it for the sake of doing it, essentially. Yeah. It's there is a clear purpose here.
And that's kind of how I feel about this movie.
Yeah, sure. Thinking over. But yeah, it is the one part of the movie that I'm not, overtly on board with.
In love with. Yeah, no, I get it.
I'm in love with the rest.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So, but yeah, I can't really think of other movies in a similar genre that does this better.
No.
As a whole, I mean. So, yeah, I guess it's an essential. I mean... The closest thing I can come to is Woody Allen movies, and mentioning Polanski. It's kind of funny that we bring up Woody Allen, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge. I really struggle with Allen films because of the artist issue.
Yeah,
I'm not as good at disconnecting the artist from the work. It's probably why I also haven't seen Hacksaw Ridge yet. I know you've recommended it. I probably need to get around to it.
Hacksaw Ridge for me is one of the best World War II movies. It's up there with Saving Private Ryan.
That's praise because I love Saving Private Ryan.
I mean, Saving Private Ryan is the quintessential.
Yeah, that is the 10 out of 10.
That is World the 10 out of 10. And this comes really damn close.
Okay.
In my opinion, though.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
So yeah, I guess I'll also give it an essential.
I mean, I think you can give it a 10 out of 10 with an asterisk.
With an asterisk, which is...
It's a 10 out of 10 for its genre.
Yeah, and it's just that if they could have found a different way to do that ending, I would have been more pleased, but...
Fair enough.
It's fine.
I get that.
It's fine as it is.
Yeah, I mean, it is... I don't see how they could have ended it differently without it being... While it's still being a Tarantino movie, kind of.
Yeah, that's true.
And that kind of is its own thing. I do see what you mean. I don't watch... If I'm putting this movie on just to enjoy the atmosphere, I'm not watching the last 5 minutes. No. That's not what I'm there for, everybody. But, it's a really good movie.
Mm.
And that's something I find is interesting, is going to watch a movie at the cinema where these days, I know it's a couple of years old now, but in this era, let's call it that, this modus of filmmaking where I can just really think to myself, I'm here and having a good time. I'm not having to work too hard, but I'm engaged. I love this atmosphere. An atmosphere in a movie is the hardest thing to get right, but the best thing to get a control of. It is.
Absolutely.
And this movie, this is the best atmosphere Tarantino's ever got.
That's for damn sure.
So, I mean, for me at least, it's the best Tarantino film. It is my favorite. I might enjoy Django more on a kind of just I don't know how to put it, an emotional level. Because I think the Fox performance is so good.
Yeah, I mean, I used to always consider Reservoir Dogs as his best work.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think this...
As a straight-up movie, this is better.
Yeah, by far.
Yeah, and I mean, you watch Reservoir Dogs and then watch this.
Yeah, you can clearly see how then the word maturing
really comes into
play. Because anyways. So right, so where can they get hold of us?
Oh Christ, yeah, I mean we're back.
We're back in a sense, I guess.
Yeah, fuck it. We don't have a lot of people listening anyway, so we're happy enough just doing this for our own fun.
Yeah.
No, we are on wherever you find good podcasts, really. We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud.
Yes, and YouTube.
Well, no, we're dropping the YouTube because
I'm still doing it.
You're still doing it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're doing it. You're doing YouTube.
I'm doing YouTube now.
Yeah, no, I've had an operation, so I can't do YouTube stuff. That's my excuse. But
sure, whatever you say. Yeah, and if you wanna, give us feedback or get hold of us, then you can email us at sightonscreen@gmail.com.
We have a Patreon at patreon.com/sightonscreen if anyone's interested. But
Facebook page as well.
As we've said every time, the best thing you can do for us is tell a friend. Spread the word.
Yeah, sure.
Get someone to listen.
And thank you for listening.
Yeah, enjoy a card ride where someone decides to put on your podcast as you sit in the back seat and see how long you can cringe.
I'm guessing that's happened.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
And on that note, yeah.
Yeah.